Are you ready to roll? Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, October 14th, 2021 St. Tammany Parish School Board meeting. Ms. Coakley, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Harrell,
Here.
Mr. Green, Mrs. Heinz, Mr. Derman, Mr. Loop, Mr. Nation, Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Winkler, Mrs. Baker, Mr. Bentoncourt, Mrs. Lamy, Mr. Hersey, Mr. Bro, Mr. Kuzan, Mrs. Page.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coakley. For our invocation, we have Ms. Riley Eden. If y'all don't mind rising, and Ms. Eden lead us in prayer.
Okay. God of heaven and earth, today we thank you for your love for us. Today, thank you that your love is poured into every part of your creation and in our hearts here on earth. We come together as your children, brothers, and sisters as we remember all good things come from you. Thank you that your love can bring great change, hope, and life to all. May we listen, learn, and grow together as community as we meet. Amen.
And we have Trenton Fisk leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Riley and Trenton. Board members, do we have any visitors you'd like to recognize? I've got one, and we don't have to sing because she'd probably kill me, but yesterday was Miss Gardner's birthday. Mr. Javier, would you like to give us the update?
Yes, thank you, board members. Appreciate it. One of these days I won't have to give a COVID update, I'm hoping, but we'll start with that tonight. Still very positive news. We only had 63 positives this week, 102 quarantines, 15 quarantines that turned positive. That was among students. But with the new procedures that were followed, I kind of wanted to give you an update on that. I told you that I would moving forward. So of the 102 students that were quarantined, 42 of those parents opted out of the quarantine. And to date, not one of them have turned positive to date. That started 8 days ago. So that is definitely positive news. On even more positive news for employees, we only had 4 positives amongst employees and only 1 quarantine amongst employees. And so that is a tremendous number for us. I took a look at the parishes, the LDH site today, and of course, they're a week behind us. But the parish as a whole, St. James Parish, is down to 4%, which is down from last week, which was 4.7. So again, the positive news continues on that front, and we are very happy about that. Next thing I'd like to give you an update on is our unified softball. That is our students with exceptionalities compete at Miracle Field there at Coquille. So we have a brief video to watch. So if you check that out, and then I'll finish that up.
Play ball. We are out here having our annual middle school, junior high unified softball event. Our athletes get to practice and prepare for 3 weeks with their typical peers and come out here and play as a team on the Miracle League field.
Miracle League fields are a blessing for our student athletes to get a chance, everyone get a chance to get out here and perform and enjoy themselves. I just can't say enough about our students with exceptionalities department and AP teachers and all they do for our school system.
Last year I had played softball. At first I didn't like it, but then I fell in love with it. And now I just want to bring that joy that I had to everybody else that could do it.
It actually feels really cool because I don't really do it as often, but I want to help.
It's always great, having our students come out and our student athletes get a chance to perform and enjoy themselves in a public venue. It's just tremendous. I'm so happy with where we're going and what the future holds for us. And I'm glad our student athletes are able to get back on the fields and do what they absolutely love. So as you can see, I'm a little bit sunburned. I spent the last 2 mornings with them, and it's just amazing. I just want to thank our students with exceptionalities, all of our teachers, our paras, our AP staff, and the athletes themselves. The smile on their face today was absolutely amazing. And the better part of that was last year when we held just the few little events that we held, the parents couldn't attend. Today and yesterday, we had a tremendous turnout of parents and spectators that were there to cheer them on. So it was so just glad to have those events. We do have bocce, our unified bocce coming up soon. And then in the spring, we'll have our Special Olympics track and field. And so we're really looking forward to those events and let those take place. But I'm going to kind of end with yesterday, late afternoon, I guess it was about almost 5:30. I was wrapping up in my office and I could hear this roar from outside. And it took me a second, and I went to the window, and Covington High School was having their homecoming parade coming through downtown. And I cannot tell you the number of people that were lining the streets as they came down with the maids and the band, and it was just amazing. So I just wanted to thank Mr. McCurley and the staff for hosting that event, and all of our principals and our our support staff that are sponsoring these activities and having these events. They're very difficult to have. We have so many restrictions that are put on us. So I just want to commend all of our employees and our administrators that are going the extra mile to give our students every bit of enjoyment they can get out of this school year. So thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Jabbia. Board members, did y'all have any questions for Mr. Jabbia? Seeing none, we'll move on. Mr. Jabbia, would you do your special recognitions?
So tonight, board members, I'd like to start by recognizing our Teachers of the Year. The Teachers of the Year, these teachers honor and represent 3,000 teachers from across the district. And we're going to start tonight with Marigny Elementary and Miss Jessica Bowden. Please. Let's take a look at Jessica's highlights this year.
Good morning. I couldn't believe that I was selected out of all the amazing, phenomenal teachers out of the district that they chose me out of everybody to represent the parish.
She just makes learning fun. She's very bubbly. She connects with her kids. She's excited about learning.
I enjoy watching them learn, watching those little moments click, that magic happen with them. You're starting their foundation. You want their foundation to be strong, and you want them to build their own path off of that foundation.
For someone to come in and work together as a team and continue to strive to always do better and help the kids get better, that's big to be honored in that way.
I wanted to make St. Anthony Parish proud and show what we represent and show, how we care for these kids and how we want to make them grow and become just better people in general, not just better learners. They're in it for 12 plus years now. This is where they're starting. So you want to set a good first impression.
She's an asset to Marigny. She really is. And it's wonderful to have her here.
Jessica, if you join me at the podium, please. So congratulations. We appreciate you. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much. I'm extremely humbled to have this honor. So I'd love to thank you guys as board members, and I'd love to thank our superintendent, Mr. Jabbia, because he's just been doing amazing with our school system. I'd love to thank my principal, Leslie Martin, who was able to be here with us today. Being at Marigny, it has helped me grow so much as an educator, and our teachers at our school, they are a great support system. So I am so humbled to have this award and so thankful for it. They have helped me become who I am. And most importantly, I want to thank my family for being the biggest support system that I have as well. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're joined tonight by Miss Leslie Martin, principal at Marigny, and Jessica's family. If they would please stand to be recognized. She also has family watching live on YouTube, so I'd like to thank them for tuning in. Never thought I'd be saying those words, but there we are. Next, I'd like to recognize Clearwood Junior High School, Miss Brianna Davis. Let's please take a look at Brianna's highlights.
Miss Davis 100% deserves being Teacher of the Year because she honestly puts everything into what she does. She's not lacking anything on teaching, and she tries her best to help every single student individually.
It was really an easy choice for us at Clearwood Junior High because she's truly an asset to both our school as well as the teaching profession. She brings about a care for the students and a love for what she does.
It is such an honor because there's about 55 schools in the whole parish, and for them to think of little old me as a Teacher of the Year for the district, it's a huge honor because I get to represent the whole parish and the great people who are behind it.
Miss Davis was honestly one of the best teachers that I've ever had. She taught me so much on how to write and how I can just improve myself as a better person. And she just really stood out as someone that I could look up to.
Brianna, if you please join me at the podium, please. No pressure. thank you for all you do for our students in our community. We appreciate you so much.
Thank
Would you like to say
you.
a few words? Please.
I just want to say I am truly honored. I was not expecting to win this award at all, especially like the hard year that all the teachers had. And it honestly pushed me to be the best that I can be in many ways. I just want to thank everybody for considering me. I want to thank my wonderful principal. He is such a support to all of the teachers and staff members who work there, and my amazing support system as a family. Thank you.
And I'd like to recognize Brianna's family is here, and Mr. Hurst is her principal. If you'd please stand and be recognized, please. Thank you. Like I said at the beginning, these Teachers of the Year represent over 3,000 teachers across our district, and they are all growing our children with our goal of student success. So I couldn't be any happier to be part of this system and to have two wonderful teachers by my side. Next, we go on to Principals of the Year. We'll be honoring the Principals of the Year this year. They are our instructional leaders of our school, just like all of our employees. They have a tremendous job and a tremendous responsibility. The first one we'd like to introduce is from Folsom Junior High School, Miss Amy Barrow. I'd like to also say that Amy was also selected as a state semifinalist. So that's a tremendous honor. If you please check out a video of Amy, please.
Folsom Junior High is definitely a family. That's how I've always thought about it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Miss Barrow is like the head of our family. She makes us all better, so she's like our mom.
Amy Barrow is fantastic, phenomenal person, and so involved in the school and involved in each of the students' lives.
My reaction was I was really excited to bring attention to Folsom because we're far out and we're small and it's the best kept secret in St. Tammany.
Our school is so small that we all know everyone by name. She wants all of us to come together because she knows that the community is what's going to drive the success of the school.
We have a lot of community support because no principal does the job alone. So for Principal of the Year being an honor, that's because of this staff and this community.
Amy, if you please join me at the podium.
Thank you, Superintendent Debbie, and to the board, especially to Mr. Loop, who is so present on our campus. Our students and families know him, and that really makes a difference when it comes to us being a united family. I really meant when the Folsom Junior High is the best kept secret. If you want to be a part of something and see people walking the walk, talking the talk together, families, students, teachers, all of our staff, then please come and see us, because I promise you, you will leave inspired. Thank you.
Also, Amy's family is here with us tonight. If you please stand and be recognized, please. Thank you. She also has family watching on YouTube Live at home, so thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Our next principal to honor is from Salmon High School, Miss Saudia Blackman-Stokes. Saudia and I have worked alongside each other for a very long time, and she does a tremendous job. So please check out a video of Saudia, please.
Miss Saudia Blackman-Stokes is making a huge difference. She's real hands-on, and she takes pride in her work, but she's always on campus and involving with like the students and stuff.
I like going into the classrooms. I like to get to know who the kids are. I try to learn the kids' names so that I can call them by name when I see them. I really want them to know that they are important and that what they're doing here, the job that we're doing for them and the job that they have to do is an important job, that their education is very important and that people here care about them.
I'll describe her as a real wonderful person and a humble lady, because despite her having a huge title and a real responsibility, a huge responsibility of the school, she still takes time out of her day while it's still being hectic to interact with people, to talk and have a little conversation, and, just to make your day better.
I think this is a great honor to be selected for Principal of the Year. We all work very hard, and it's a great distinction when people recognize the hard work that you do in order to help students.
Saudi, if you please join me at the podium. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Superintendent Javia, board members, associate and assistant superintendents. It is an honor and a pleasure to represent Salmon High School and my family as the Principal of the Year. For the past couple of years, with COVID running rampant through our society and our schools, we saw a shift in how our students were being taught. With virtual learning coinciding with face-to-face instruction, the task of educating our students became more challenging. But I, along with my fellow Spartans, were up to the challenge. Tonight, you all are recognizing me, but the recognition really belongs to all educators, students, and families. It is truly a team effort to educate the whole child, and I want to thank my Spartan family for being committed. We have a great team and community at Salmon High School, and I'm proud to represent us and continue the work that we do. Thank you all.
Ms. Blackman Stokes' family is here. If you please stand and be recognized. Thank you, guys. I want to commend our principals of the year. These two individuals represent 55 principals across our district that do a tremendous job. And like Ms. Stokes said, all of our educators, all of our employees do a tremendous job for this school system. And I could not be prouder of the job they do every day. So thank you all for your time. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Javia, and teachers and principals. Thank you. Item C is the National School Lunch Week, which is October 11th through 15th, 2021. Mr. Kose?
Thank you, President Harrell, Board, Superintendent Javia. In 1946, President Harry S. Truman signed the National School Lunch Act. This was a direct result of men unable to pass the physical when drafted for service during World War II. Congress passed the act as a matter of national security to safeguard the health and well-being of our nation's children. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy created National School Lunch Week, a week-long celebration of the school lunch program. National School Lunch Week will be celebrated October 11th through the 15th. This theme is Wild About School Lunch. We plan to share the best real images of today's school lunch: fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, milk, and smiling students. I would also like to thank Food Service Director Supervisor Ms. Jenny Montz and the entire food service staff for their hard work and dedication. It is my honor to ask Ms. Lisa Page, our board member, to now read the resolution recognizing National School Lunch Week in St. Timothy Parish Public Schools.
Certainly. Whereas the week of October 11th through the 15th, 2021 has been named National School Lunch Week, and whereas Wild About School Lunch is the theme for this year's school lunch celebration, and whereas the National School Lunch Program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children and has served our country for 75 years through advanced practices in nutritional, educational, and whereas the cafeteria staff across St. Tammany Parish school systems serve approximately 12,000 breakfasts and 20,000 lunches each day, and now therefore be it resolved that the St. Tammany Parish School Board publicly thanks the Student Nutritional Advisory Council, Mrs. Jenny Montz, Director of School Food Services, and her staff, and the school food services managers and technicians at each school for providing an excellent school food service program for our school system. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of the school board, with copies being sent to each school's principal, Student Nutritional Advisory Council, and cafeteria staff, and to Ms. Montz and her staff as a testimony for this board's recognition of their outstanding endeavors, and I so move.
In a second. Do we have any comments by the public? Seeing none, any comments by board? Questions by the board? Everyone please vote. And that motion passed unanimously. Mr. Kosei, School Bus Owners, Operators, and Bus Attendants Appreciation Week, October 18th to 22nd, 2021.
Thank you again, Mr. Harrell. Preface to the resolution includes appreciation to our bus operators and attendants for their excellence and professionalism. Also want to thank Transportation Director George Bodie and the Transportation Department staff. Their hard work and dedication guide an incredible support service to our excellent school district. In society, there is a long list of unsung heroes who go unnoticed on a day-to-day basis. The establishment of School Bus Safety and School Bus Operators and Attendants Appreciation Week, which will be held October the 18th through the 22nd, recognizes those individuals who ensure the safe transportation of thousands of children to school and back each day. Transportation employees have an incredible task. They consist of driving large vehicles and managing our precious cargo while following safety precautions for an uneventful journey. This significant week will promote school bus safety awareness and education, including practiced evacuation exercises. The schools are also eager to design and implement activities to enhance student understanding and convey appreciation to transportation employees servicing them. Please help us celebrate by honoring our school bus employees with a simple expression of thanks and appreciation. It is my privilege to recognize Mr. Mike Derman, who will now read our transportation resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Kosei. It is with great pleasure I offer up this resolution. Whereas school buses cover more than 29,000 miles daily in St. Tammany Parish, transporting public and non-public students, and have an excellent safety record. And whereas the positions of school bus operator and school bus attendant require tremendous responsibility, as they are required to safely operate in traffic, maintain order on the bus, and in the event of an emergency are looked upon for leadership and guidance. And whereas the St. Tammany Parish School Board is dedicated to the safety of our students and drivers on school buses, and whereas primary factors for the excellent safety record of the St. Tammany Parish buses can be attributed to the dedicated school bus operators and attendants who spend considerable time and energy in ongoing training to maintain skills and keep current knowledge of laws and safety procedures, as well as careful bus maintenance and thorough inspections. And whereas school bus operators and attendants are a critical part of the public education system by making our schools accessible to all students throughout St. Tammany Parish. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the St. Tammany Parish School Board hereby acknowledge and applaud the everyday efforts of all school bus operators and bus attendants in the school system and proclaim the week of October 18th through the 22nd, 2021 as St. Tammany Parish School Bus Safety and School Bus Operators and School Bus Attendants Appreciation Week. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of this board, with a copy being sent to all schools within the St. Tammany system to post as a sign of appreciation to all school bus operators and school bus attendants. And I so move.
Unanimous second. Do we have any comments by the public? Mr. Osborne?
I was just wondering about the format of the meeting, because you got a lot of bus drivers waiting outside for a seat, and normally we change it out. Some of them parked the bus kind of late, and I'd kind of put in a request for any that weren't able to sign up to be able to speak. So could we kind of bring some of them in to have the 2 minutes, or how do we want to handle that?
Mr. Harrison, I believe we could add them to the end of the meeting, or?
They should come before the vote.
I think they wanted to do public comment, just public comment,
Yeah,
huh?
just generally the public comments are at the beginning. So what happened there with the?
Public comment can be either at the beginning or it can be at the end. If they wanted to comment on the agenda item, they've got to go before the vote.
Right. Well, it just seems odd. You know, we traditionally put them in the beginning, and we could have done the rotation. But again, I would like to request for anybody that wasn't able to speak that's a bus driver. I mean, you know, that is their item.
Right now, they could do it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right after all that, you want to?
Yeah. I mean, we'd have to get them, but
Mr.
if that's okay.
Or are they going to be commenting to the motion, to the
Yeah,
resolution?
will they be commenting on the motion, or will they be
Well, wait,
general?
I just don't want my people out here standing in the parking lot all night waiting on the public comments. I guess it's, you know, they came out, they wanted to express. It just seems odd to me that we changed public comments from the beginning.
The public comments are always in that portion. We always do the recognitions, then dismiss them. We normally take a break and then do public comments. They're in the same spot.
All right. So how?
Mr. President, point of order. Mr. Osborne is not speaking to the resolution that's on the floor, so I would suggest he either speak to the resolution on the floor.
That's true.
Or be dismissed.
Well,
that's exactly right, Mr. Nation. In fact,
yeah.
if they come in now, their comments are going to be limited to just what's on the table, which is a recognition of them. I highly recommend they put at the end, or you vote on this, and I would recommend the public comment if they're going to want a broad breadth.
I just want to express my appreciation to Mr. Dermott for bringing this motion, and you've always, you know, been an ally and looked at the nuts and bolts of everything, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the board and of course, support a full unanimous vote on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments on the motion? Any comments by board members? Go ahead, Ms. Lamy.
I just want to reiterate, so we did not change the order of public comments. We always do our recognitions and awards and then public comments.
We even take a break,
Correct.
normally let them leave, and then we do public comments.
So we're
Correct.
still in the middle of the awards and recognitions right now.
Nothing's changed.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, Mr. Osborne. They just had more recognitions and awards tonight than typically, so it's further down, but it wasn't changed out of order. So I just want to clarify that.
Dr. Richardson.
I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the board as well as for you presenting this resolution. Our bus drivers are often, it's a thankless job. It's a difficult job. I don't know how they do it. And between managing all of the children's interactions, their behaviors, and more importantly, their health and safety. I just want to personally applaud them and everything that they have done for our district, for our students. We cannot function without them. And I pray that we really make it a priority to take good care of them. So thanks to all of our bus drivers for all that they do.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. Any additional comments by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. Go to the other tab, Ms. Baker. Two more items in there. And that motion passes unanimously. Item E, Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through 31st, 2021. Mr. Kosei.
Thanks again, President Harrell. This year's theme for Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through October 31st, reads, Drug-Free Looks Like Me. Since its beginning in 1985, Red Ribbon Week has touched the lives of millions of people around the world. Red Ribbon Week began in response to the 1985 murder of DEA agent Enrique Camarena. In honor of Agent Camarena's memory and his battle against illegal drugs, friends and neighbors began to wear red badges. The red ribbon was adopted as a symbol of Camarina's memory. Today, the red ribbon serves as a catalyst to mobilize communities to educate youth and encourage participation in drug prevention activities. In St. Tammany alone, Action Youth and Community Services distributes over 30,000 red ribbon wristbands to students and adults in our community. The Action Troop creatively also helps spread this important message. Our goal is to reach as many youth and their families as possible with our message. I want to thank Mr. Jeff Polito, Action's Executive Administrator, and their staff for Action's work and dedication to the students of St. Tammany Parish. Mr. Polito is directing a school play and could not be here tonight. So Ms. Tracy Pendry is here along with Action Troop members. They're in the back of the room, and we appreciate their work and them being here. So if they would please stand and be recognized. And it is now my pleasure to ask Ms. Tammy Lamy to read the resolution.
Thank you. I'm honored to read this resolution because this week is near and dear to my heart and was one of my favorite weeks to teach students. And it really does make a huge impact, not just with the students, but even with their families. Okay. Whereas the St. Tammany Parish School Board values the health and safety of all students, families, and citizens of the parish, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America with students, teachers, faculty, and staff committing to healthy, drug-free lifestyles. And whereas the mission of Action Youth and Community Resources is to assist in the healthy, drug-free development of youth and families by providing leadership training, family life skills, education, and prevention programs. And whereas the school board acknowledges the contributions made by the members of Action and expresses its gratitude for this organization's longstanding support of students in schools. Now therefore be it resolved that this board does hereby proclaim the week of October 23rd through 31st, 2021 to be Red Ribbon Week in all public schools in St. Tammany Parish with the theme of Drug-Free Looks Like Me. Furthermore, be it resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of this board and a copy of the resolution be sent to Action and posted at each St. Tammany Parish public school as an indication of this board's declaration of Red Ribbon Week and its acknowledgement of the valuable contributions made by Action. So thank you.
Second. Do we have any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments by board members? Ms. Baker.
I just have, is there a particular curriculum that goes with these programs for drug-free? Is that done through counseling? I mean, I know it's a real fun week and it's an awareness week, but is there particular lessons?
To my knowledge, they just get enhancements from our Action group that gives them ideas and things to do, and then our principals are ultimately responsible for coming up for the activities during the week. Yes, ma'am.
Any additional questions? Mr. Derman.
I just want to say I'm glad Ms. Lamy got that one. That's a tongue twister for me, the Red Ribbon Week. You did a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. Seeing no more questions, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Board members, on item F, the President's Award, this is something new. I tell you, my first guy I'd like to recognize for this award, I've known for a few years, and over the last couple of years, I see how much work he puts into his community, especially since Ida, he hadn't stopped. And I'm at home drinking coffee, and I see he's weed eating the cemetery. So I talked to Mr. Javier and I just said, what can we do to recognize employees that do a lot for our community outside of school hours and normal school events? So we came up with this President's Award, and we're hoping every quarter we can recognize an employee, whether it's a teacher, para, support staff, anything that goes above and beyond in the community, that we have an opportunity to recognize them for their service. So I'm pleased to announce the winner of the recipient of the very first one is Mr. Jaron Narcisse.
Yeah.
Please come say something, Jaron.
Those of you who know me, it's going to be a while for me to shut up, huh? I would first like to say thank you to all of the board, Mr. Javier. My day started on September 24th with a call from Mr. Javier saying, "Fantastic Friday." He calls me and says, "How you doing?" I said, "As soon as this call is over, I'll let you know." It's an honor to be recognized for all the hard work. I got a very supportive wife who works her butt off in the community as well, who puts up with me, which is a hard thing to do. My principal actually put me up for the award, so thank you to Miss Tony Rich. My sister, who's here, also is outstanding in her own right. My children, I know y'all heard the 2-year-old in the back. I told y'all in July when I got the job that Lacombe is home. And I am very proud to stand here and say I'm from Lacombe and working in that community. And I was even more proud to have Riley Eden from Bayou Lacombe and Trenton Fisk do the prayer and the pledge, because beyond me, it's about them for the future. So thank you for this, and I appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you so much, Aaron. You're humble, because I've got a list of all the stuff that you do, and besides former recreation board member, coach, museum board member, you're also the founder and executive director of the Bayou Lacombe Cardinals minor league football team. Like I said, you weed eating and mowing the cemetery. I know you've got a couple of people helping you with that. So thank you so much. You've earned it. Proud to give it to you. Dr. Richardson, you'd like to add something?
I would be remiss, Garen, not to mention, add to his list, just your hard work during the distribution of meals when COVID hit our community. This is appropriately given to you. You are a servant of servants. You are a voice to the community. And I don't think there's one citizen any more prouder than Garen to be a Lacombe resident. So it's been a joy to work alongside you, to learn from you, and to support you any way I can. So good work. Well done.
All right, we're going to take a short break to release any employees and allow the staff to come in. welcome back. Up next is item 3, public comments. 3 minutes. Up first is Mr. Pete Jabbia.
We're here, but I made comments last week during this particular section of the agenda. So I wanted to go ahead and just do a little clarification with you about my comments. My comments were to make the board aware that you cannot engage with an individual at an open meeting in items related to collective bargaining. That was my sole purpose, because if you do engage with someone during this period of time, that's a violation of the open meetings law, and we surely don't want that to happen. On another note, since public comments, and you have a policy as a board on public comments, that individuals can come and speak, and they can basically say what they want to say, as long as they abide by your rules and your regulations. So there would be nothing to prevent Mr. Osborne or anyone else to come up and address you, even though it may be collective bargaining item issues. The issue would be so that you not engage with them. Because if you engage with them, then we might be looking at a problem with the violation of the open meetings law. That was the purpose of that last week. I wanted to clarify that for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jabbia. Up next, we have Ms. Stephanie Letelier. I know I butchered that one. Coming in. Oh, she's coming in.
Good afternoon. Stephanie Lettier, Mandeville. My morning begins at 5:55 a.m. with my pre-trip. It ends at 9:20 when I get off of my bus. My evening run begins at 12:50 with my pre-trip, and it ends at 4:25 when I get off my bus. I spend 7 full hours on my bus, not 6:30, not 5. I do spend 7 full hours. In addition to the 7 full hours, right now we are in the middle of trying to do coverage for many, many, many people. Aside from that, what else does an owner-operator do? Middle of the day, we often have middays. Weekends and summer, we're still working. We're doing initial paperwork, regular updates on paperwork, behavior reports, pre-trip forms, making turn-by-turns, updating turn-by-turns, route sheets. SPED drivers have even more than we have. We speak with parents, school disciplinarian about behaviors on bus, trips to auto parts store for parts, transportation for supplies. We do our own maintenance a lot of times, running down wires, trying to figure out issues. Cleaning and detailing bus on a regular basis, monthly, a massive detail, which does take all day long. We're making phone calls to friends and fellow owner operators, which is my support community. They help me to troubleshoot my issues, or I'm receiving phone calls from other people needing my talents and my expertise, because that's what we do. We're a community and we help one another. Jumping in my car to head over to another bus to help them out, give them an extra set of hands. Driving extra detail to make money to fill the gap of what I don't make with my operation pay. My job does not end when I get off of my bus. My job's 24/7. I love my job. I love my bus. She's mine. I take pride in her and I take care of her. There's a funny expression we use to describe the way another driver treats a bus that's not their own. They drive it like they stole it. You don't see that with an owner operator, at least not this one, and not many of them. Our bus and our cargo means a lot more to us, and we're going to take care of it like nobody else would. I want to leave you today with some words of wisdom that you'll find on my bus. These are my motivational stars. My bus is my classroom. It's my class on wheels. I have these stars all over my bus. 2 of them I want to share today. To be a leader, you have to be a good listener. And if you have an opinion, you better know why. In a recent school board meeting, a member of administration said we're paid 7 hours and do not work 7 hours. It's easy to assume you know what you're talking about when you have 0 time invested in getting to know your people in the full scope of their jobs. We are more than that. While an appreciation phone call to a nominated support staff member is a nice step, and it really is, I challenge all members that are in leadership and all members that have opinions to get on a bus and ride along with us. Pick up a mop, help out a janitor, assist a teacher in a classroom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Up,
time,
up
everybody.
next, we have Miss Betsy Garrity.
Good evening. My name is Betsy Garrity, and I'm a teacher in this parish. This is my 29th year of teaching, and I have never spoken in front of a school board or a public forum. I feel very passionate and compelled to speak to you tonight. Within my 29-year tenure, the role of teacher has changed drastically. In essence, I have had to become a digital media manager as well as a teacher that connects, teaches, and encourages students. The training I received to accomplish this and grow to be the teacher my students deserve was weak, insubstantial, and woefully inadequate. The lack of training and unrealistic expectations is only one way in which teachers feel devalued, unseen, and unheard. Another example worth discussing is simply the workload. For example, there have been days this school year where I have taught first, second, and third hour. Then on my 50-minute plan period, I was told to attend a PLC meeting. Following that, for lunch, I had to stand in the hallway and eat. After the 25-minute lunch, I taught fifth, sixth, and seventh hour. And after school, I was expected to attend a meeting for the practice ACT. My question to you is, if I teach all day, attend meetings on my plan, and attend meetings after school, when am I supposed to do the work that it takes to provide an inspiring and engaging lesson? The easiest and often heard expectation is that we take our work home, grade assignments, answer questions, manage parents, and plan for future lessons outside of contract hours. You may ask, what can be done? Every teacher I know has ideas, so I will offer you these insights. We do not want your thank you emails. We do not want your we're all one team emails. We do not appreciate you. We do not want those emails. We do not want a stipend payoff. Instead, we need to be seen, heard, and compensated like the college-educated, highly skilled, in-demand professionals that we are. We need a valid and substantial pay raise that will affect our futures, not just a one-time payoff. It is time to be clear. You can no longer say that teachers will just do it for the kids. That is unacceptable. We love our kids, but we do this job under the expectation that what we bring to the table to our students will be reflected in our salary. We need a legitimate salary that acknowledges our position as necessary to the economic and overall stability of this community. It is time for you to step up to the plate the same way you expected me to step up. In conclusion, please know that your sweetly worded emails mean absolutely nothing when your actions show the opposite. Anything less than a permanent and substantial increase in pay will be seen as half-hearted and disrespectful attempt to placate teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Garrity. Up next, we have Ms. Alicia Hickman.
I'm gonna just say I'm not a great speaker. This is only my second time, but we all talk about appreciating bus drivers and all that. And my thing is, words are easy. I can say I appreciate you, and really not mean it. I've been doing this for 26 years, and one of the years that I was there, they asked me to go across district lines because I'm special ed. So I went across district lines to pick up a kid to bring him out of school. It was 15 miles past district lines, not where I parked my bus, but 15 miles past. It wound up costing me over $1,200 in fuel to pick this kid up. And I had asked, for things from the district line to pick the kid up for some compensation. But anyway, it didn't happen. And they said they would take care of it next year. And they did, which was great. I didn't have an AC in my bus. And they wanted me to get one. And because I didn't have one, I couldn't do field trips. I couldn't do summer school. I couldn't do in-between runs. And I chose that. And I said, you know, that's fine. I'm good with that, you know, if I don't have to put ACs in the bus. Also, our pay has been frozen. So while our pay is frozen, other people are getting raises, but not us. And the one time that, you know, they sent something through to get us additional pay, not pay raise, but additional operational pay, it passed the House. And in the Senate, it was stopped. And I was told by one of the senators that some members of the lobbyists have come from the school board to come and lobby against it. So it failed. The one time that you guys could show appreciation to us by allowing this to pass, you send people up there to tell the senators, no, we don't, you know, we don't want to do this. Don't let it pass. And it failed. I don't know if you guys know, but we can't afford new buses anymore. They're $90,000 to $100,000 for a new bus. We always have to get the old buses, and they're breaking down and all that, but we don't complain. My thing is, you know, talk is cheap. This was going through the politicians' hands, and it was stopped. And that was basically what I was talking about. And let me see, where was it? Also, too, like the week before, the reason why I spoke is because we actually have a union president this time that's actually speaking for us. And the display of last week was kind of what got me to come and speak, to say, hey, he was out here trying to help us, and he got shot down, you know? And so I feel that we need to come and let you guys know what's going on, because you're only hearing one person. You're not hearing all of us. So, and that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hickman.
Real quick. Okay. This was another point. You guys, well, not you guys, but somebody shot it down in the Senate, okay, at the lobbyist or whatever. Now we are being asked to do the millage tax. Just think about that. You shot one down, and then you're asking us to continue the millage. So
Thank you so much, Ms. Hickman. You did great, better than I think Tina would have done. Up next, we have Ms. Rhonda George.
Hi, I'm Rhonda George. I've been a bus driver for about 19 years. When I first started driving, it was $1.39 a gallon for diesel. $1.39 don't seem like a lot, but when it gets up to $3.19, it's a lot. It got up all the way to $5 a gallon. They're not looking at us for getting a raise. They don't care if what we drive. They don't care if we need one job, two jobs, or three jobs. People have one job that works on, that's higher up than us. We have to have 2 and 3 jobs to make a decent pay, to make a living. And I understand we chose this profession. Anyways, when our school bus breaks down, we have to have somebody help us fix it, or I have to call a bus driver and say, hey, can you come find this and help me with this problem? Because you don't have money to pay for a mechanic because we don't make enough money. If y'all would help us and give us a raise, all of us bus drivers, and I'm not asking for a raise for all of us bus drivers and without the teachers. I think that the whole system needs a raise inside of ourselves. We think that if everybody would work together, it don't matter if I drive my bus, which is a special needs bus, or they call me and say, Rhonda, will you go drive 602 because I've got a sub bus driver that can't drive a big bus, but they'll drive your bus. So what did Rhonda do? Get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go and drive that bus for 5:30. My choice, I did it because they asked me. We do way more than what any other person will do. A bus driver gets out there and we bust our butt to get them kids to school, get them from school. We're the first ones to see them. We're the last ones that see them when they leave. And we don't get recognized for nothing. Y'all might say Bus Appreciation Week. Some of our schools don't give us nothing. They don't even have a sign up that says Bus Appreciation Week. Absolutely not. So we're not recognized. We're recognized as one of them drivers. Oh, that's just one of them drivers. We're not one of them drivers. We are one of y'all. We are St. Tammany Parish. We want St. Tammany Parish to be great again. When I started driving 19 years ago, everybody was like, oh, it's so good. Now it's like, how much longer we got to retire? We don't want to spend 30 years in this system. We want to spend now and get out because we don't have it. We're not a team no more. We need to fight as a team and be one instead of being split. And that's what I think. We are split, and y'all know what we're talking about. Y'all need to give us a raise. Y'all need to approve a raise for us, and we need to be on top of it. We're on top of it. Y'all need to help us be on the rest of the top of it. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. George. Up next, we have Ms. Carrie Witchers. I got it right.
Carrie Wishers, owner-operator for 28 years. I believe the members of the board are not being given the correct information on the current shortage of bus drivers. Daily 20 to 25 routes are vacant or being covered. Yes, this may be because of illness or other issues, but is a result of the open routes at the start of the school year. And with the vacancies, since SUSCAR, there are not enough substitutes or itinerant drivers. It is impossible to find the substitute because they're all on long-term routes. The superintendent and the members of the board were instrumental in stopping the HB 364, which would probably have provided encouragement to retain some of the drivers that have left since school started. It may have also prompted new hires of owner-operators. It doesn't take collective bargaining to correct this situation. It takes administration admitting that buying buses is not going to solve the problems. Working to correct operations and pay rate would at least stabilize the situation. Have drivers buying buses. If you don't have the drivers, buying buses is not going to solve the problem. Another area that could help with the current problem is making sure the outlying schools start times that would optimize the portion of the fleet that is currently running only one route. It is rather depressing to realize that the administration is excited about 2 prospective new hires when within the last month we've lost 2 owner-operators who had been in the system for 5 years or more. There are many more projected drivers leaving by the end of year, and I may be one of them. What is the timeline for an applicant to bus driver? 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months? 1/4 of the school year is over. The situation is only getting worse. Last point, I've emailed the superintendent about 4 weeks ago asking how long does one get to level 40 on the salary schedule. He responded he would definitely check into it. I haven't heard any more about it. Being a 28-year employee, which stands at level 18, it just doesn't make sense for 45 levels when no one can achieve it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next, we have Ms. Lee Barrios.
Lee Barrios, retired teacher. I'm not going to talk about bus drivers. Tuesday, Bessie considered a request by Key Academy, a charter school for dyslexic children, started by Senator Cassidy's wife, Dr. Laura Cassidy, to open a Key Academy charter here in St. Tammany. Superintendent Jabbia, Brandon Harrell, and legal counsel Danny Garrett attended. The superintendent and Garrett testified, stating that the application to St. Tammany was rejected because it was incomplete. Under state law, as you know, when a charter app is rejected by a local district, it can then be considered by Bessie for approval. However, no vote was taken because of extenuating circumstances and the need to be further studied to determine if the academy should have the opportunities to submit the missing one-page document to complete the app, or if they would have to wait a year to reapply as per law. If the school board has another year before consideration, this is an opportunity for this district to begin the necessary work to make adjustments in order to provide the full services with the proper effective curriculum for dyslexia that these students need. It seems that would be much cheaper than funding a charter or losing MFP dollars, and every student requiring these services but not able to drive to Baton Rouge every day, as some of our children are now doing, could be served. And do I need to mention that LEAP scores are bound to improve? I encourage the school board and administration to adopt the appropriate curriculum, provide teachers with training, and do the right thing for these children and the parents who pay taxes in St. Tammany. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Up next, we have Mr. Thomas Robert.
Good evening. I'm an owner operator also, and it's just like all the other drivers have said. we're constantly getting hit on that we are paid for 7 hours, but we barely work that. Well, as y'all heard from other drivers, we work more than 7 hours a day because, especially now with the COVID, and like they said, with so many people out, we are covering 2 and 3 and 4 routes. And I don't know what they tell y'all or anything, but our pay reimbursement for mileage is less than 70 cents a mile. And I mean, that doesn't cover the cost of diesel right now. And my main thing is with all the inflation of mechanics and everybody's doing the same thing, you can't get parts or nothing like that. Our operational pay is just a joke. I mean, you're talking about mechanics charging anywhere between $150 to $200 an hour for them to work on buses and stuff. Tow trucks cost $300 to $400 to have it towed. And we're barely getting anything by. You know, I know we can't do anything because they say collective bargaining and everything like that, but all the independent owner operators and everything are not part of the collective bargaining agreement and everything like that. I mean, we need to make that more public or to the owner operators to where we can put our feedback into it and come up with a plan that'll work, you know, for everybody. And I just wish, you know, with some of the stuff that's going on with all this COVID and everything, that y'all could help us with the reimbursement rate for the covering of other drivers that are sick and everything. It's not worth it to me, but you gotta get called 3 times a day for it. And I mean, I commend, you know, all our offices and everything like that. They do a great job on trying to get the kids to and from school. And it is a headache for everybody, but you know, I just gotta help us out a little bit because we can't afford to keep doing it like we're doing right now. I promise y'all that. You'll have a lot more than 1 or 2 drivers quitting by the end of the year. Y'all can't get something. And I ain't saying my salary, I'm talking about operational pay. That's gonna all be reimbursed somehow. All right, y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Robert. Up next, we have Christian Supreme.
All right. On August 5th, when I first came to the very first meeting I came to, y'all kept saying September 1st, we're going to take the mask off the kids. Just wait, September 1st, right? Well, it's August 14th, and October 14th, and we done seen celebrities at Emmy Awards. We done seen celebrities at Grammy Awards. We done seen politicians everywhere inside with no masks on, but you still got our kids wearing masks. It's child abuse. This whatever you want to call it, this virus is 0.01 of a molecule. If anybody and people that are in charge of school or education would think that a piece of paper on your face or cloth would stop that, you obviously have done no research, none at all. It's ridiculous. You got our kids sitting in schools and on these buses, and these poor bus drivers, that's ridiculous as well. Y'all need to pay them, because if y'all didn't have them, the kids wouldn't be in school and y'all would be out of school, out of jobs probably. Which I don't know why y'all have jobs anyway, because y'all always want to put stuff on Bessie. Why wouldn't you just have one person to say, hey, if Bessie says it, this is what goes? Why do we need to pay all of y'all, right? But it's time to take the masks off the kids. And I don't care what Louisiana says. I don't care what anybody says. Look at Zachary. Zachary, right 30 miles outside of Baton Rouge. They have no COVID restrictions, no nothing. So it isn't about Bessie or the Louisiana mandate or anything like that. Take the masks off the kids. It's time. All right? And like I said, pay these bus drivers, because this document that I seen today, it shows that y'all have taken $28 million for extra funding for standing with the CDC and keeping these masks and all this stuff on our kids. $28 million. It's ridiculous. Take the masks off the kids. It's time for y'all to stand up for what is right. The line has been drawn. Get on one side or the other and let us know if you're for our kids or not for our kids. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you, sir. Up next, we have Miss Jody Griswold. While we wait for Ms. Griswold to come down to the podium, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Miss Alicia Hickman. She is a 3rd-generation bus driver. Her aunt, Miss Hamilton, was a bus driver. She was my bus driver. And Miss Oldman, her grandmother, was my bus driver. So thank you.
I was in the atrium, but thank you for waiting. And I would like to thank Ms. Barrios for speaking about dyslexia, because I have spoken here on many occasions about dyslexia and the need for a dyslexia therapist in the schools, which we do not currently have. This evening, though, I came to speak about a professional development that was given on October the 8th by the coordinator of pupil appraisal and the coordinator of early childhood. They had delivered a PowerPoint presentation and gave a hard copy of the slides. One of the slides in particular gave me reason for pause. Since 2001, special education has endured many changes. The inception of RTI began approximately 20 years ago, and RTI in and of itself can be a useful tool if used properly. However, RTI has unfortunately brought a delay to the process of identifying our students who may have special needs and who would benefit from instruction from a special education teacher. An entire year of learning is lost from the time a teacher brings forth concerns regarding their student to the evaluation, and then finally when a determination for placement is decided, an entire school year. The current direction, as was presented via PowerPoint and the hard copy of the slides, and I quote, "Stop over-evaluating for special education services," and to reduce and eliminate special education instruction for first and second grade students. I wanted to bring that to your attention because I wasn't sure if you were aware of that. You know, going back to dyslexia, that is a special need. That is a specific learning disability that should be covered. It is covered under IDEA, and yet our students are not receiving services. And now the trend is to reduce or eliminate services for our first and second grade students who are learning to read. That is the foundational skills of reading at that age. I just thought you would want to be informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griswold. Up next on the agenda is item 4, approval of minutes for the special meeting held September 1st, 2021. Do I have a motion? You didn't sign up. You talked on the bus. I know, but you still had to sign up. I'm sorry, we can't do it this time. Right. Do we have a approval of minutes? Do I have a motion? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Page, for the second. Any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes 12 yeas and 1 abstention. Item B, approval of minutes for the regular meeting held September 9th, 2021. Do I have a Thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Loop. Do we have any questions from the public or comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions by board members? Everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Item C, the appropriate retirement resolutions for our certificated personnel. Mr. Kosek.
Thank you, President Harrell, Superintendent Giabbia, board members, and audience. I bring you the appropriate retirement resolutions on the following certificated personnel subsequent to the August 12th, 2021 meeting. Elizabeth M. MacArthur, Abney Elementary, 25.37 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. Janine R. Mason, Covington Elementary, 32.82 years, 15.26 years in St. Timothy Parish. Elizabeth R. Brent, Creekside Junior High, 39.62 years, 26.12 years in St. Timothy Parish. Kathy W. Gill, Cypress Cove Elementary, 25.02 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. Cynthia Davis, Florida Avenue Elementary, 33.62 years, 26.62 years in St. Timothy Parish. Vera M. Dunaway, Folsom Elementary, 26.56 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. K.L. Krogsgard, Mandeville Elementary, 29.32 years, 25.32 years in St. Timothy Parish. Jesse A. Stevens, North Shore High School, 11.12 years, 6.12 years in St. Timothy Parish. And finally, Robin A. Heastan, Chafuncta Middle, 20.12 years, 0.01 years in St. Timothy Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Kosay. Thank you, Mr. Derman, Mr. Luke for the second. Do we have any comments by the public? Ms. Barrios?
This is quick. 9 teachers retiring. This is not the end of the school year, the middle of the summer, or the beginning of the school year. It's the middle of October. Resigning 35 teachers. I think that's in the next agenda item. And 19 taking leave without pay. That's a lot of teachers. An article in the Lens said that, or NOLA.com said New Schools for New Orleans was awarded $14.3 million in a federal grant to address teacher turnover. Let's take every opportunity we can to make sure that, unlike exists today, 100% of our teachers are teaching in the field to which they were trained. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Do we have any additional comments from the public? Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Item D, the appropriate retirement resolutions for the employee support personnel. Mr. Kosay.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. The appropriate retirement resolutions on the following employee support services personnel subsequent to the August 12, 2021 meeting. Judy S. Gazav, Bayou Woods Elementary, 24.44 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. Terry B. Jenkins, Pitcher Junior High, 23.58 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. Rosalind J. Atkins, Transportation Center, 15.45 years, all in St. Timothy Parish. And Roxanne M. Palermo, Woodlake Elementary, 25.02 years, all in St. Timothy Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Kosay. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Hersey. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Baker. Do we have any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Item E, to consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution confirming an election date change pursuant to executive order of the governor establishing a new date to canvass the returns of the election and providing for other matters in connection therewithin. Just a quick, this resolution acknowledges a change in the election date to November 13th pursuant to the governor's executive order and provides that the school board will canvass the election returns on December 9th. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Derman. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Hersey. Do we have any questions or comments by the public? Ms. Barrios?
I don't need that. I was asked by a teacher to read this because she's ill and could not come to the meeting tonight. So I'm going to read it. These are her exact words, and then I'll add my own comment at the end. She said, and her name is Jennifer Christina. She wanted me to say her name. I have concerns about the upcoming millage renewal and how the district has forced employees to attend meetings promoting it and distributed documents with veiled threats to cut school site positions and resources. And I am going to add, I'm adding for clarity that the letter to employees says that the millages provide funds for 3 critical areas, one of which is essential staffing to retain teachers, keep class sizes low, and provide students with individualized support, all of which are absolutely necessary. And I'll go on. I understand the need for funds. However, electioneering using public resources is not ethical or legal. Meetings cannot be mandated either. Regardless, they are coercing faculty vote for and push others to vote for renewal millages that were passed last time on promises of significantly raising teacher pay. After it passed, we got nothing. Central office administrators got a 5% raise, then so did school-based administrators. Where is our 5%, or rather the correction in pay for the years frozen, plus the 5%? How about we put central office jobs on the chopping block if it doesn't pass? Removing the excess of central office administrators will not violate children's IEPs, 504s, or civil rights, which teachers could. But school staff and resources are the legal coffers that deep. And I want to add that I fully support the millage and certainly hope it passes. It's absolutely necessary, but I do hope that the school board looks at ways to better spend those dollars and does consider their employees at the top of the list. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Any additional comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Item F, consideration of an action related to the malapportionment report of strategic demographics. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Green. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Luke.
Good evening, members, the public. My name is Bill Blair of Strategic Demographics. Let's see, here we go. That might be helpful. So what I'm going to present to you today is the very first small step toward your redistricting process after the 2020 census. Essentially, we're here to acknowledge that based on the growth in St. Tammany Parish, plus the migration patterns, different growth in different areas of the parish, that 2/3 of your current school board districts are either over or under the ideal population. Therefore, will need to be redrawn to equalize that population. Now, this isn't surprising. St. Tammany grew by 30,000 people. That was the second largest growth of a parish in this state, behind Orleans Parish. And that growth was unequal in the parish, which we'll show you in a little map of this PowerPoint in just a second. So, how do we do malapportionment? What is malapportionment? That's a big word, right? Essentially, it is taking your 2020 census data for St. Tammany Parish and applying that data at the smallest level, which is the census block that has population in it, to your current boundaries of your school board districts. And when that comes back, it will tell us whether or not you have grown in size or decreased in size. And you'll all get very familiar with the term ideal population. That is only the population of the parish divided by 15. It's around 17,600 people. So that's the perfect district, is that size. And Supreme Court decisions tell us that every district of the school board needs to be within plus or minus 5% of that ideal number. So around 8,800 on either side of that. So here we go. Let's start with just the parish. You can see here a 13% growth in the parish the last 10 years. Trends between 2010 and 2020 are fairly similar in percentage by race and ethnicity. Although if you look at the bottom of these three lines, you'll see that is the difference from the decades, with a significant growth in African-American population in the parish, as well as the category other, which is a phenomenon we've seen throughout the state and throughout this country. Essentially, anybody that's reported other on this table is someone who reported themselves to be some other race that's not listed here, or white and some other race that's not listed as Black, Asian American, or American Indian, or Hawaiian. So while your overall demographics of the parish have not changed significantly percentage-wise, certainly there is some variation within the parish. Here are your 15 school board districts. Anything in red is out of the 5% deviation low. Anything in green is of the deviation too high. Some of these numbers are pretty close to the plus or minus 5%, but several of them are way under or way over. It's easier to look at it on a map. Anything in green needs to shrink. Anything in red has to grow. Anything in orange needs to grow a little bit. And this tells us that the parish has significantly grown in Madisonville, some of Slidell, and maintained itself essentially in the Covington-Mandeville area, with small losses in the rural parts of the parish. So our job together is to make that map gray, because anything in gray is within the plus or minus 5%. So that is what we must accomplish. When anybody talks about redistricting, you get these visions of smoke-filled back rooms and political deals being cut. And I'm not going to say there's no politics involved, but it's clear, it should be clear to the public that this is a number-driven process. We're going to talk to the membership about their district, because although I was born in St. Tammany Parish, I live in Baton Rouge now, you know your districts better than I do. So we want to engage you to talk to you about how to equalize the population in these districts. So addressing population disparities, that's number one. That is the two things that every publicly elected single-member district jurisdiction has to address: equal population, which you've just seen, and the Voting Rights Act. Now, in 2010, there was no minority majority district in St. Tammany Parish. One came close, I think the 14th district. But that is something objectively that needs to be analyzed under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, just to make sure that a minority majority district does not need to be drawn in St. Tammany, given the growth of the minority population in St. Tammany Parish, as well as the trends of those patterns we saw on that map. Just to confirm that, so we don't run afoul of the Voting Rights Act. What's our timeline for this? Well, again, the resolution you'll have before you momentarily merely acknowledges, based upon the 2020 census, that the St. Tammany School Board must redistrict to equalize that population. Now, before you see kind of a general guideline for y'all, as well as any other school board in this state, we have the data delivered to us in usable form really in September. We produced this first report to you. The next 2 to 4 months will be spent visiting with the membership and the public to try and engage on solutions to this unequal population in our districts. Then we will have an adoption of the plan. Hopefully before June. There's a new statute in state law that requires that any new districting plan be given to the Secretary of State a month before qualifying. So that puts us around the 3rd week in June as the drop dead date to get this done. And I work with the Secretary of State all the time. What you don't want to do is drop a new plan on them a month out from qualifying, because they have to go in and actually physically move voters around to make sure they're put in the proper district. So the sooner we get it to them, the sooner we can be confident that your voters will be in the right district come the election and qualifying. And that people can properly qualify, if they so desire, in those districts. Your qualifying is in July 20th to 22nd. Your fall election is November 8th. That will conclude my initial presentation to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Blair. We made one before he. Do we have any comments by the public? Ms. Barrios.
Again, a teacher asked me to read her testimony. I'm not an expert by any means in zoning resolutions and those sorts of things, but I agreed to do that because she wanted to be identified. And again, it's Jennifer Christina. She says there's a zoning resolution on the agenda tonight that should not pass without further information and additional guidelines. I would object myself, but I'm currently home ill. The zoning is a potential problem considering that attendance zones are not addressed. Attendance zones in this district are segregated socioeconomically and racially, while total student populations are much too dense in some schools. Small class sizes are a myth. I'm concerned that rezoning the board's electoral zones are intended to appear as though they are also realigning attendance zones, considering many southern districts are still under desegregation observation. Regardless, the one man, one vote quote they used is from the Supreme Court case Baker v. Carr, which establishes that legislative districts should be equal in population. However, the division of feeder schools, families, can be argued as a violation of Baker v. Carr if the assigned voting district prevents a parent from voting for the board member representing all of their children's schools. Given this malalignment of representation and attendance zones, both the attendance zones and board electoral districts should be rezoned simultaneously after publication of each decennial census. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios.
First, I just want to say, forgive me if I'm completely naive about this, but I've always wondered when it came to the census and things like this, reports like this, why does race matter so much? You know, I actually applaud the people who just put other. Like, it's none of your business what the color of my skin is. You know, everybody should be treated equally. You know, it should be equality across the board. It shouldn't matter if a neighborhood is one color greater than the other, you know. They should all be children of God, and we should treat them all the same. Just, again, forgive me if I'm naive, but just as a public perception.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments by the public? Wrong direction. All right. Board members. Mr. Derman.
Thank you. I just got a question, in looking at the information that was given to us by email, you know, prior to the meeting, and looking at the populations, and hey, I'm just going to go straight to my district because that's the one I'm in. On your paperwork, it says the population is 16. I'm District 3. I'm sorry, 16,903.
Right.
Says ideal is the 17.
Right.
But in the information that we'd received prior to this, it showed that I had 22,109. And then there's another one that's substantially different. It's District 10. And it shows that it's at 17,401. And this information says that it's at 13,966. So, I mean, here again, we're talking about 3,500
Right.
variance, which we're trying to balance this
Sure.
and, okay.
I don't have an explanation for that. The data you see in front of you is correct. I'm not sure what was sent to you earlier, but I would just say quality control has fixed that issue. What you see in front of you is absolutely correct. The one that's printed is correct, or the one on the screen? On the screen. Which should match that, I should say.
Can we go back one slide to the?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Derman, you were referring to the email I guess we got last week that had it
Yes.
broken down as a couple of slides?
Yes, that we received from superintendent and from them.
I would say that.
Yeah, I just forwarded the email straight from this firm. That was the information that I had from them to give you
Right.
guys.
Well, I'm just trying to understand
I think they did send a second email correcting the.
And I did.
It's my
do that.
appreciation that is
I
true.
did do that. I'd sent that second email out. That was a correction, correct?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
my partner, Dan Garrett, we split up our jurisdictions. He actually did the initial cut at this thing. So I'm not throwing him under the bus, so to speak, but I would never do something like that to Dan. I'd say.
Okay, well,
But-
I'm just trying to understand the discrepancies in the numbers, so I mean, that's all I'm trying to do.
Yes, sir. And generally speaking, this is correct on the board here. But regardless of that fact, we're so malapportioned in St. Tammany that we're going to sit down with all of you and show you your district and show you the population and show you the breakouts. And we're going to have to change those numbers regardless of any.
Yeah, I totally get, I
Okay.
totally get it.
My apologies for that discrepancy.
Ms. Baker.
So, I attended that coffee conversation last week. And one of the things that they said was that a district could not be reorganized more than once. What does that mean?
Which conference were you referring to? that you attended?
It was an
LSBA.
LSBA,
Yeah,
like a weekly update?
yeah,
kinda?
it's you just get online and listen to the latest, greatest. And I know this is happening everywhere, but I
Mhm.
don't understand. So if your efforts are to equalize the numbers, then what does that mean? You can only do it once. But if you do it and it's not right, you still have to get to that magic number of 17,000 something, right?
I am not an attorney, so I'm not going to render a legal opinion here. That would be for Dan to do, perhaps. The school board can redistrict itself as often as it wants to. There are some limitations on before a next election, but you could reduce your size. You could, have at-large memberships, and you get more than one cut at this. You have to get your population equalized, but there's no one way to do it, and there's no just one bite at the apple for this either.
Okay.
Ms. Baker, that might be an email back to them, just ask them to clarify what they meant.
I think one of the things that he said was, I think what he meant by that was you couldn't split a district. So you couldn't have a district, in two different places, that you couldn't split a district. That's what he was talking about. He said a river might divide a district and that district could continue because of the river, but you couldn't have part of a district here and then part of a district here. It had to be connected.
That is one of a series of what we call traditional redistricting criteria. That includes like compactness, contiguity is what we're talking about here. All your boundaries have to touch. Communities of interest are important. Natural geography is important when you draw a district. All those things that should be considered along with I think community of interest and geography are perhaps the most important when you're drawing a district, but it's to each person's taste. And trust me, drawing districts is somewhat of an art as well.
Mr. Betancourt.
just a brief comment. Please don't throw that other gentleman under our bus. We got enough going on with our buses right now.
I understand, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Ms. Lamey?
Mine's kind of just a comment, and I know when you meet with us, we can talk specifically, but when I decided to run for school board, I started collecting signatures. I got about 86 of my 100 before I realized that the school district I lived in would not be the school district I was running for. And so it's very spread out across the parish, and it's a very, very bizarre. So I don't know what that means, except I'm giving my 2 cents. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know that it was a numbers game. I realize that. And I don't know if everybody else's district is like that or not, but to what Ms. Barrios read, I think it is important to try to have the board member in the district of the schools when possible. It may not be possible all the time because of, larger communities and smaller, I understand, but literally one side of the street is, the other side's not. If I go back to yes, one more no, like it's just weird. And so I just want to throw that out there so that can be I agree, it's an art, I'm sure, just bizarre.
Well, also, it's my attendance zones aren't allocated by population, census population. I believe they're allocated by students, correct? So those are 2 different things completely. So it would be impossible to legally align them. You'd be in violation of one man, one vote criteria for single member representational districts, which is y'all.
We could have in the back of our mind that we would like for the board member to be as close to those schools as possible, because then they're connected more to that community.
And we can, I'm not sure how we can obtain that data, I would imagine, of your schools.
I mean, it doesn't even matter to me personally anymore. I mean, past that road, but I'm just saying it just seems really weird. Anyway, I understand.
Sure. No, look, I work for a lot of school boards, and that is a question we get a lot.
Okay.
Where are my schools? Because that makes sense.
Okay, got it.
And Ms. Lamey, I know I think every school in every district across the road is the other side, because the boundaries are all drawn down the middle of the street and not backyard lines.
Right.
That is true as well. So most districts, and when we do y'all as well, will be done initially by whole precincts. And precincts have to be on physical visible features. And that means it's down bayous or roads, things of that nature. And so inevitably, people are on one side or another of a precinct. That will happen regardless.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Any additional questions from board members? Seeing none. Thank you, Dr. Blair. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, and just the resolution merely acknowledges the need to redistrict and nothing else.
So that's what we're voting on right now, right? Brandon?
Yes.
That's what we're going to vote. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Item G, resolution in support of the Louisiana School Board Association. Do I have Mr. Nation, would you like to read that resolution?
Yes, I would, thank you, and then I'll make a motion to accept it. Resolution in support of support for the Louisiana School Board Association. Whereas the St. Tammany Parish School Board agrees with the position taken by the Louisiana School Board Association, LSBA, as expressed in LSBA statement issued on October 8, 2021, entitled, quote, LSBA response to NSBA's request for federal intervention. And whereas the St. Tammany Parish School Board applauds the LSBA in making such a timely statement, and whereas the St. Tammany Parish School Board supports the LSBA in reevaluating its relationship with the NSBA, including withholding membership dues for the upcoming year. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Tammany Parish School Board immediately suspend financial or other support to the NSBA, including travel by board members or any employee of the board to any event directly hosted by NSBA or events supported sponsored, or endorsed by NSBA. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of this board, with copies being sent to the LSBA's Board of Directors as a sign of support. And I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Hersey, for seconding. Do we have any comments by the public? Thank you, Ms. Barrios.
So these comments are my own. It is false accusations spread on social media and by political organizations that the National School Board Association is asking the Biden administration to label parents who protest school policies domestic terrorists. I myself would be a domestic terrorist if that were the case. If you read the letter, and if you haven't read the letter, you should not vote on this resolution. The organization is not asking Biden to label parents who protested school board meetings as terrorists. The NSBA asked the administration to do an interagency investigation of threats of violence against school board members and said the threats, quote, could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. St. Tammany School Board has experienced its share of raucous citizens protesting the mask requirement and falsely claiming that our teachers are teaching critical race theory, and a school board member received a threat of violence. This kind of behavior and worse has popped up nationwide, which prompted the NSBA to give the authorities full notice that their worst fears could come true if these threats are not taken seriously. We all know what happened at the United States Capitol. Who was prepared for that interpretation of freedom of speech? Everyone who knows me knows I believe and practice public dissent when justified and actively participate in public meetings because it is the greatest form of accountability. But citizens breaking the rules when they object to public bodies breaking the rules doesn't fit my style, nor do I support the politicization of public education, which it seems that this resolution is doing. The NSBA is made up of school board members from across the nation with differing political views and perspectives on teaching. Why would our state school board members pass up the opportunity to offer their perspective and experiences to the NSBA at their meetings and to learn how to make our public schools better? It seems to me like you're shooting yourselves in the foot, and you yourselves are contributing to this politicization with this resolution. And I ask you not to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Do we have any additional comments by the public? Seeing none, do we have any questions by board members? Ms. Lamey.
I just kind of want to chime in on that. I know we have had situations, and we've had to reiterate about the way the public should always be able to say what they want to say, and I will always stand for that. But we have had to talk about pounding and using names and defamatory comments. We've had issues that were more severe that we've had to address. So I just read the statement for the first time, honestly, and it literally does say that people who are not even connected to the school or to students who are trying to just cause chaos in the community, and that is what the thing says. It just says that they would be labeled as. I mean, it does, unless I read the wrong thing. So individuals who are intent on causing chaos and disrupting our schools, many of whom are not even connected to local schools, are drowning out the voices of the parents who must be heard. Anyway, I want to make sure that we've all read it and we know exactly what statement we're standing against. Does everybody understand what the statement is? Can somebody share it with me if I've read the wrong thing? Or are we just voting to vote?
Mr. Nation.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. A couple of things. One is the letter, and I would read the letter from NSBA, but it is 6 pages. So I do call your attention to what the NSBA says. The purpose of this resolution is to support our LSBA. They felt like, and I agree with them, and I think others do on the board, that standing up against yet extreme federal intrusion into our lives, it needs to be stopped, as well as it's a complete overstatement of what's happening. And so But I will, I do call your attention to the NSBA's website, and in their 5-6 page letter. You know, they start out, this letter was addressed, this letter is September 29th. And again, I'm not gonna read the whole letter, and it's addressed to the president. And the first sentence is, public schools and its education leaders are under immediate threat. Well, actually, I do agree with that, but not from parents. So respectfully ask for federal law enforcement and other assistance, and it goes on and on and on. But here's where it gets really interesting. So, as one member of the public just referenced, so the paragraph says, as these acts of, this is NSBA, as these acts of malice, violence, and threats against public school officials have increased, the classification of these heinous actions could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. As such, the NSBA requests a joint expedited review by, I want you to listen to the list of federal agencies that this National School Board Association wants involved in local school board affairs. The U.S. Department of Justice, the Department of Education and Homeland Security, along with appropriate training, coordination, investigations, and enforcement mechanisms from the FBI, including any technical assistance necessary from state and local coordination with its National Security Branch and Counterterrorism Division, as well as any other federal agency with relevant jurisdictional authority and oversight. Additionally, NSBA requests that such review examine appropriate enforceable actions against these crimes and acts of violence under the Gun-Free School Zones Acts, the Patriot Act in regards to domestic terrorism, the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, the Violent Interference with Federally Protected Rights Statutes, the Conspiracy Against Rights Statute, an executive order to enforce all applicable federal laws for the protection of students and public school district personnel, and any related measure. As the threats grow and news of extremist hate organizations showing up at school board meetings is being reported, this is a critical time for proactive approach to deal with this difficult issue. And it goes on and on and on. So for me, it's just a matter of, I believe in local control of school boards. There's nowhere in the United States Constitution that mentions education being a federal, under federal prerogative, but be that as it may, and notwithstanding that fact, the fact that the National School Board Associations would even hint that a parent or protester at a school board association would be, to use the term domestic terrorist, I think is extreme at the very least. We have had spirited debate over the years that I've been on the school board. We've had folks come up, but I've never ever once thought they were domestic terrorists, nor would I expect, nor would I want the FBI to investigate anybody regarding their political views. So needless to say, LSBA, the statement that they made was very simple. It was not 6 pages. It was just that we don't agree with this. They didn't consult us, and we're reevaluating our posture. I have been to NSBA events. I've been to the national conference a few times. I was not going this year, long before this even came out, because much of what happens at NSBA is extremely left-wing radical information. So that's just me. You all are free to certainly vote this down, but I would hope and ask that you support our LSBA and their stand against this authoritarian march that the federal government is taking right now in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Mr. Kuzan.
President, there has been a tremendous amount of threats against school board members recently. Yesterday, there's a young lady from Florida, a school board member, whose daughter, 7 years old, was threatened. There has to be something to protect members across the country. Here in the parish, I don't know whether we need to call it terrorism or what we need to call it, but we really need to try to protect school board members and their families. If any of you saw the news on yesterday or today, this young lady was very, very tremendously threatened. People were in her yard, passing by her daughter's windows, 7-year-old, saying things about the child's mother. So I just want to say that we need to do something to protect school board members as well as all people associated.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzan. Mr. Derman.
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. I think one thing that, I've been on this board almost 20 years, and we have tried our very best to let our public have participation within our board meetings, whether we disagree or agree as individual board members or as a board, to the debates that are taking place. But I think by labeling people that disagree and have a different point of view as domestic terrorists or anything else is pretty strong. And I think all we're trying to do is to say that we still want our public to participate in our school system. And whether we all agree, I mean, that's the democratic process, but at least have the opportunity for open discussion and dialogue. And it's not just because one side gets elected that that's the way it shuts down, whether it's up here on the board or if it's in Baton Rouge or if it's in DC or wherever. That's not the way it should be. We're all elected to represent the people. And I think some of what's in the NSBA is very, I guess, for lack of better terms, frightening to the restraints that they're trying to impose and threaten people with investigation by the FBI and everything else. I just think that all we're really doing is we're just saying to the LSBA, the board of directors that voted to take this action, that we support you. That's it. That's all we're doing. I mean, we're not taking any other action. We're not taking any other changes to policy or anything else. We're just simply saying, hey, we agree with your standpoint. We appreciate it. We're not going to send them $20-something thousand for membership. So that's what this is all about. Everything boils down to money. And if you don't agree with it, then we don't have to send you the money. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. Mr. Luke.
Okay, I'm on the board of directors for the Louisiana School Boards Association. What we don't know here, and I do know, is that the board of directors for NSBA wrote that 6-page letter and sent it without their board of directors knowing. It blew up all over this country. Dr. Janet Pope, our executive director, got in touch and got millions of phone calls. She passed out phone calls. All the states are going ballistic over these people writing this letter and sending it without their board of directors okaying it, just like we up here would have to verify something and vote on before we passed it on to our system. So this letter is damning towards all school board associations, and as it says in our letter there that we're resolution, we're going to seriously doubt whether wanting to send dues into the NSBA when they pull this type of a trick to go ahead and send a letter without approval by their own board of directors.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Any additional comments by board member? Ms. Lamey?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Loop, for that explanation, because that makes things a little more clear for me. To think that they just made a decision for us and we're saying, well, we're not going to be part of you just making a decision and we want to not give you our dues because you're not doing things the right way, makes sense to me. And again, I think we got off track when we started talking about public participation, because never have I felt threatened, or I see the passion in the people who talk and I want to hear from them. That is why we're here. That's why we serve. This was referring to malice acts of violence, which we've seen other places, not here. It also did not say that it had to be investigated. It was just trying to take a strong stance that it could be. I have a nephew who about 15 years ago was expelled from Fontainebleau High because at lunch a friend wrote that there was a bomb in the school, and he stood there with them and said, "You might as well sign your name to it. It's your handwriting." And because he was there, he was charged as a terrorist. So that was very strong for our school system to do to a 14-year-old boy. So anyway, so my comment was not to support this necessarily, but to say I understand the big picture there. But now that you made your point clear, I get it. But I did have one other thing I wanted to say and I lost it, so never mind.
Thank you, Ms. Lamy. Mr. Betancourt?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Harrell. From listening to Mr. Kuzan a little bit earlier, we do have an officer here right now that we've been doing this for a while, and that's public safety, and we're handling it locally, which Mr. Nation alluded to. Same with our schools, we have our resource officers there. So we're handling any potential problems and stuff locally. We don't need federal officers or whatever and people getting investigated because they're upset about something and want to speak on a subject. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
I agree with that, but it wasn't about speaking, it was about physical. But what I remembered that I wanted to say, sorry, because I do believe in local control, and that's why we should be taking masks off and not following someone else. Thank you.
Mr. Kuzan?
Yes, it doesn't mean that we don't have local control, and it doesn't mean that people can't come up and express their opinion, as long as it's kept in a certain manner. We have the police officer here tonight, but do you have one with you at home? I'm not saying to label people. I'm not saying to call them terrorists. But what I'm saying is that whether it's local or something, we need the protection. School board members, school board system personnel needs the protection, and we need to try to make sure that people that address this board address it in a manner that is positive and not derogatory to school board members personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuzan. Mr. Nation?
Thank you, Mr. Harrell. One, just to tag on to what Mr. Betancourt was saying, we do have, in my opinion, a very competent sheriff's department in St. Tammany Parish. And a lot of people move to St. Tammany Parish because of our ability to protect our citizens, as opposed to other parishes around us. And so we've got very competent police departments in our municipalities. So again, for the National School Board Association to ask for the Department of Justice, and specifically the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and I forgot to mention, and this is in the letter, the U.S. Secret Service, and also the U.S. Postal Inspection Service to intervene against threatening letters and cyberbullying attacks. So it's not just acts of intimidation, it's threatening letters. So that have been transmitted to students, school board members, district members, and other educators. Again, it's just, we're, in my opinion, on an authoritarian march in this country by our federal government. And this is a very clear example of folks asking for the federal government to take even more control away from local governing agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nation. Seeing no more questions, everyone please vote. And Mr. Nation, your resolution passes 12 yeas, 1 nay. Up next is the approval of recommendations for the committee as a whole, meeting for Human Resources and Education. Mr. Winkler.
Mr. President, the committee as a whole for Human Resources and Education met on October 7th, and we recommend acceptance of a revised supervisor of payroll service job description. And I so move.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Page. Do we have any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously.
Mr. President, our committee also recommends acceptance of a new Assistant Supervisor of Payroll Services job description, and I so move.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Baker. Do we have any comments by the public? Seeing none, do we have any questions or comments by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously.
And
Mr.
our
Winkler.
last recommendation was acceptance of a revised payroll accountant job description, and I so move.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Hersey. Any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments by board members? Seeing none, everyone please vote. And that motion passes unanimously.
That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. Item 6, approval of recommendations from the committee as a whole meeting for finance and administrative held on October 7th, 2021. Mr. Green, do you have that report?
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met on October 7th. We are asking at this time that we withdraw this recommendation until we've had time to discuss this with the union as it relates to pay and new positions. So we'll bring this motion back before the board once we've had a chance to discuss with the union.
Thank you, Mr. Green. All right, up next is my announcements. The November committee as a whole meeting will be held on Thursday, November 4th at 6 p.m. The board meeting will be held on November 11th at 6 p.m. at the Brooks Educational Complex in Slidell. Item 8 is an executive session has been requested pursuant to LRS 4217A2 to discuss the following matters. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Nation. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Hersey. Any comments by the public? Seeing none, any questions or comments by the board? Seeing none, everyone vote all in favor? Aye. We are now in executive session. We'll give a minute or two for everybody to clear out the meeting room.